Good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Thursday, November 3rd, 2022. It's about 6:45 in the morning. I can hear all the birds cawing outside my window. I haven't checked on the weather yet, so I don't know what the day is going to be like today. I hope it's a little bit sunny because I have a little bit of a thought in the back of my head of working on my bicycle a little bit and maybe even taking it out on the road. And I have a particular reason for that, why I'm feeling inspired. It's a YouTube channel that the international big shot told me about, and he sent me the link, and it's a very interesting channel, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, assuming I remember to do that. Yeah, speaking of the international big shot, Bill Price, that's the story of yesterday. I met up with Jamie and Bill at ICC Pudu for breakfast. The plan was to go back there and have popia. I'd actually said goodbye to Jamie the previous day because we went to the Masjid India together, did a tour of that mosque. I'll be finishing up the editing of that video and posting it today, my time, at 5 o'clock, I believe. And after that, Jamie was going to spend a day packing and getting ready and getting organized. And then the day after, which is today, flying to Borneo. And he's going to spend a month there. So after our trip to the mosque, we said goodbye. Outside the Kojoy here. But then I got a message from him saying, the goodbye maybe was a bit premature. What do you think about meeting for breakfast tomorrow morning at ICC Pudu, and we can have that popia that we've been talking about? And I said, fine. And as the story unfolded in the video, as you'll see, I woke up in the morning feeling a little bit ill. I've got a very sensitive stomach. Particularly if I mix up a lot of different types of food in a very short amount of time. I function best on a steady diet of simple, plain food that much of it is the same type of food. Then my body is very happy. If I start throwing a whole bunch of new things at it very quickly, then a little digestive system revolution gets underway. And I woke up yesterday morning with that revolution in full tilt. So I wasn't feeling very good. There were a lot of rushed trips to the bathroom and a lot of really bad stomach cramps. And I was hoping to get all that out of my system and still go meet Bill. And in fact, I got to the point where, I even shot a behind-the-scenes video while I was feeling ill. I don't think you can tell. And then I got dressed, I got all my camera gear ready, and I was ready to leave. And I was at my door, opened the door, and I was just on my way out, going to the elevator to head to ICC Pudu, and boom, doubled over with painful stomach cramps. And I thought, no, I'm not going to make it. Like, even if I make it to ICC Pudu, this is not going to be an enjoyable experience. So turned around. As it turns out, I was very lucky in terms of the timing because my room card had malfunctioned the previous night. It wouldn't work anymore. You get the little electronic key card. Sometimes you put them in your wallet and for whatever reason, the coding in it gets jiggled around or something went wrong with the card and it wouldn't open my door anymore. So the previous night when I came back to the Kojoy, I came up to my room and I just went beep, 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 and I just got a red light saying, no, this is not your room. Your card is not working. So I went down to the front desk, but the main man that I deal with here, the boss, as he's been called, he wasn't there anymore. He had gone home for the night, and there was a night staff there. And he was very helpful. He brought me up to my room, and he let me in with his MasterCard. But he didn't have the ability to reset my card. So he let me into my room, but my card still wasn't working. So in the morning when I was feeling really sick and I was leaving my room, had I closed the door behind me, just before the new wave of stomach cramps hit, then I would have had tried to turn around to come back in, and I wouldn't have been able to get back into my room. So the door was still open, so I managed to come back in here and make a run for the bathroom. And then while all this was going on, I sent Jamie a long message sending him my apologies and saying, yeah, I'm not going to make it. I really wanted to go. These days I'm in the mood to have really full active days. You know, the more active the better, assuming I have the energy to deal with it. So I really did want to go. I had lots of things to do here in terms of the YouTube channel and video editing and camera gear, and bicycle maintenance. I've got a lot going on, but I thought it would be really nice to go have breakfast as well. So I was really disappointed that I couldn't go, and I sent him that message. But then, after my last trip into the bathroom, and I came out, and I was standing here in the middle of the room thinking, I feel pretty good. You know, all the stomach cramps were gone. I didn't have any feeling of being ill. There's no nausea, nothing. I was just like, I think that was the end of it. I think the digestive system revolution had been defeated, and I was back in control of my body again, you know. The revolution had lost, and it was over. So I thought, well, actually, let's go. And I just threw my clothes back on, got my camera gear ready. I brought my GoPro with me, Rode wireless Go microphone clipped under my shirt as usual, and I sailed out the door. I stopped off at the front desk and dropped off my card. The boss was there now. I asked him his name long ago, intending to commit it to memory, and now I find that I can't remember. I'm going to have to ask him again. Oh well. But yeah, I dropped off my card. I told him I was in a bit of a rush, so I'll just leave the card with him. And I told him that it wasn't letting me into my room anymore, and if he could fix it, that would be great. And I would pick it up, you know, when I come back. And he said that's fine, and he took the card. And I set off to the LRT station, moving at a very fast pace for me. For a normal person, it was probably still pretty slow. I'm a very slow walker. I've encountered that many times in my life. I always thought I walked at a normal pace, just like a normal human being. But then I start walking with other people, and they just leave me in the dust all the time. And I learned that actually I'm quite a slow walker. So I was moving fast for me, heading to the LRT station, but to everyone around me, it probably looked like I was moving at regular speed. So anyway, for me, it felt very, very fast. It was raining, and as I commented in the video, once I hit the slippery tiles of the LRT station, I suddenly had to back off and be very careful, because at that high speed with all this rain, like water dripping everywhere, puddles everywhere, my feet were already soaking wet. Every time I come back to the Kojoy lately, after a day out there in KL, I take off my sandals, and even if my feet are dry by then, they're covered in mud because I end up going through all these puddles, and I don't even realize it. It's like, oh man, all day long I've been walking around with feet that look like that. I have to go take a shower and hose all the mud off my feet because of all the puddles I've been walking through. And that happened on the way to the LRT, so my feet were wet, my sandals were wet, my feet were sliding around and squeaking inside my sandals, and I could feel my feet sort of slipping on the tiles, you know, trying to like slide out from under me. So suddenly I have to slow down and walk a little bit more carefully. But I was still in a hurry. I hate being late, one of my giant pet peeves. If I'm ever late for something, it ruins my whole day. So I don't like to be late. So I was still moving at a fairly good clip, even though I'd slowed down a little bit. And then I entered into the LRT station, heading towards the right stairs. I have all this figured out now. My body's almost on autopilot. I'm heading towards the train platform, you know, the platform where the train goes to Ampang or Putra Heights, and that takes me towards Puto, you know, takes me in that direction. The other platform takes me to Sentul Timur. So I've got all that figured out, so I knew exactly where to go, and as I was approaching the bottom of the stairs, I could feel the ground start to rumble a little bit, and I heard, oh, a train is coming, but I couldn't figure out if it was going towards Putra Heights or whether it was going to Putra Heights or Sentul Timur. But I thought, well, there's a train coming, let's hurry up and make sure. And I sprinted up the stairs. I ignored the escalator because it was full of people. And, you know, I ran up all the flights of stairs 2 or 3 steps at a time, you know, joom, joom, Olympic sprinter racing up the stairs. And I got to the platform just as the train was arriving, and it was my train. So I got onto the train within seconds, you know, well, not even within seconds, like I got there just as the train arrived. So I got on, got to Pudu Station very quickly, and then from there it was a short walk to ICC Pudu. And as I pointed out in the original video, I was 1 minute away from the front door at 8:44 for my 8:45 appointment. So I was exactly on time. And just as I was arriving, Jamie was coming out of the market building, out of ICC Pudu. He'd gotten there a little bit earlier, and he thought maybe Bill and I were inside, so he had gone in for a little bit of a walk just to see if we were sitting down. And just looking at Jamie's demeanor, how he's standing, how he's reacting to my arrival, I figured out that he hadn't gotten any of my messages. Because I didn't mention this, but after I decided to meet him anyway, of course I sent him a message saying, ignore my previous message. You know, I sent him a message saying, I'm not coming. Then I sent him a message saying, oh, by the way, I am coming, I'm feeling better, but I'll be late. And then I actually arrived right on time. So both of my messages were inaccurate. So I thought he'd have things to say about that. I thought maybe I thought maybe he wouldn't even be there because I canceled on him with my first message. Maybe Bill canceled on him, I don't know. And then maybe he decided, you know, well, I'm not even going to go. So I thought Jamie wouldn't even be there, but I never got a message back. And then when I approached him, I told him, yeah, I've been hitting you with messages about my morning adventures. Then he says, yeah, never got them. Now, actually, I could see that because on my system, I can see whether the message has been delivered or not. It had been sent. I got a little check mark beside it, you know, sent, but there was no second check mark to show that it had been delivered on the other end. So I don't know why. So Jamie and I were there for a couple of minutes, just chatting, getting caught up, and then Bill Price, the international big shot, showed up, and I was pleased to see that he was carrying his GoPro, because he is a YouTuber as well, as I've mentioned. International Big Shot is the name of his channel, and he uses a GoPro Hero 10 with a Rode Wireless Go, and he has the GoPro inside a media mod mounted on a expandable tripod selfie stick. I didn't find out the brand of that selfie stick. So yeah, we were matching. You know how people end up wearing the same shirt or something. It's like, oh, we've got the same hat. I'm very happy when I meet people walking around with a GoPro. It's like, hey, GoPro people. We bond over the GoPro. And I was hoping to talk to Bill about him, his life, and his channel, and record that on video. And I sounded him out about that at the very beginning when I met him at the front door. Just I kind of suggested that, yeah, in a lighthearted manner. It's like, hey, maybe if I can talk Bill into it, I can convince him to take my microphone, my Rode Wireless Go, clip it to his shirt so we hear his voice, and then I can talk to him and ask him some questions, a Planet Doug it's a Planet Doug interview, so to speak. And I'm very much more interested in doing things like that. I've sort of been interested in doing it for a long time, but I haven't done it mainly because of audio issues. Audio and video both, because it's very simple to film yourself, but put in a second person. Now what do you do? How do you get audio from two people? Audio from two people and audio from somewhere else. I mean, you can sit down and interview someone as well, but that's what I mean about video. How do you do the video too? Do I put a chair here, put a chair beside me, and then do I talk to this person like I'm interviewing them, or do I just aim the camera directly at them? And if I'm out walking around and I'm just holding the camera, like what do I do? Talk to this person and hold it. I don't know, suddenly when you're talking to another person, it introduces a whole new level of technical challenges and decisions and things you have to work out. And I've never gotten to that point. And I've done it a bit more lately, in particular, when I went to the mosque with Jamie, even before we got there, I was already thinking in my head that this was going to be a very special event for me. Something that a situation like that does not come around very often. A small, fairly intimate mosque with an interesting history, and getting a guided tour. So I thought it was a possibility that I might be able to convince the guide to wear a microphone, and then I could record their voice. And I was thinking about doing that before I went there. And then I did ask the man, he was a volunteer at the mosque who does these guided tours, and he was a very, very gentle, kind-hearted, sort of friendly man, and he was more than happy to wear the microphone. At the end of the tour, we were sort of talking just informally as we're leaving the mosque, and I thanked him for doing that, and he says, "Oh, it's absolutely no problem." And he said he was glad to do it because he really wanted what he said to be clear. In my memory in particular, he says, quite often people will talk about things, and he's talking about Islam, and then maybe I won't remember everything that he said, and now, of course, it's all recorded, and it's all very clear and laid out. So he was very happy to do that. But the more I do this, and then talking to Bill on camera yesterday, because I did do it with him, the more I do it, the more I realize that there is definitely a Rode Wireless Go 2 transmitter set in my future. I've been wanting to purchase one of these microphone sets for a long time. It's actually old technology by now. When it came out, it came out, I don't know the date, but it feels like it's been around for a while already. And I was talking to Jamie about this, that quite often what happens in my life is there is something I'm thinking about buying, but for reasons of economy, it's a big expensive purchase, not having enough money, you don't buy it. And then you think that's the wise decision because it's an expensive purchase. And I have a Rode Wireless Go with one microphone that works perfectly. I have no business buying another expensive Rode Wireless Go. But the funny thing, as I was explaining to Jamie, quite often when I do this, there's something I'm thinking about buying and I resist it for a long time. I eventually do buy it, right? And I can almost feel like with this Rode Wireless Go 2, I'm going to buy them eventually. I know it. In the back of my mind, I will buy one of those. I know it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And yet I've been resisting and resisting and resisting the expense. But that's really just shooting myself in the foot, isn't it? Because I know I'm going to buy it. It's an inevitability that I will be buying one of these Rode Wireless Go 2s. So by delaying, I think I've been delaying for a year and a half now. Like, when did it come out? Maybe even 2 years ago. And I didn't buy it at that time because it seemed too expensive. And if I buy it now, which I'm probably going to do, all I've done is deny myself 2 years of owning that microphone. If you see what I mean. It's like if you're going to spend the money anyway, 6 months or 1 year from now, well, just buy it now, and then you also get 1 year of using that product. So sometimes, maybe this is another false economy on my part. I love that expression. I use it all the time. That I think I'm saving money by resisting this major purchase. But at the same time, if you're going to purchase it anyway, and you know you're going to do it, you can feel it, well, then just go do it, and then at least you have it. And then you get, in that item that you bought ends up giving much more value to your life because you had it for a year longer than you would have had it, because you waited so long. So anyway, that seems to happen quite a bit in my life. But anyway, if I had had a 2 microphone set of Rode, I would have one clipped to my shirt, and I would have one clipped to the volunteer, the guide at the mosque. and you could hear me asking a question, and you could hear, or whatever response I might have to what he said, and you can hear his voice. In the mosque, it wasn't a big problem because it was extremely quiet in there with very good acoustics, and you could hear his voice clearly. On the video, my voice and Jamie's voice are much lower, but you could still hear our voices and make out what we're saying. And even with Jamie, Jamie has been a very good sport in his time here. He's allowed himself to be on camera, and some of our interaction is on camera. But it's very difficult to hear what he's saying. He's a very soft-spoken man, and his voice is not picked up by my Rode very well, particularly out on the street if he's a few feet away. But if I'm hanging out with someone like Jamie who doesn't mind being on camera, and I've got 2 microphone transmitters, clip one to me, and I'll force my hapless companion, sorry, you're now a YouTube person, I'll put the microphone on them, and then you can hear both of our voices perfectly. And that would free me up, quite a bit. And then again, talking to Bill yesterday at ICC Pudu, I took off my microphone and gave it to him, and I said, you can just clip it to your shirt. And then oddly enough, he would end up having 2 microphones, mine clipped to his shirt, and he had his own underneath his shirt on a cord. He said he figured out that trick from my videos because I put my Rode on a cord underneath my shirt, and Bill adopted the same technique. So he had 2, now he had 2 Rodes on. But as he said in the video, I don't know if it's on the video, but he said he'll just hold it in his hand. Instead of clipping it to his shirt, he just, as I talked to him, he held it here, just in his hand. You can see him in the video holding on to it. Another funny thing about that moment, we'd gotten our popia, we'd gotten Hainan tea, and we're busy eating and drinking, and then we kind of reached a point where we'd eaten our food, and we're chatting about this and that, and I timed my moment to turn to Bill and say, okay, well, we're still sitting here, like, while I have you here, do you mind if we do that little interview now? And he said, fine. And we just took 5 minutes. I turned the GoPro around, faced it towards him, gave him the Rode, and then I asked him some questions. And I learned a lot about him, actually. Turns out, as with everything, I was wrong about so many things to do with Bill Price and the International Big Shot. But I forgot that I had the GoPro set to wide. So when I turned the camera around and I was facing it at Bill to record him, I should have switched to linear just to get tighter on him because he was the main subject. But you're moving fast, you're eating popia, you're drinking Hainan tea, there's a lot of noise, there's heat, there's confusion, there's fans blowing. You can't think of everything. So I left it on wide, and I ended up with Bill and Jamie both in the shot as I'm talking to Bill. So you've got Bill over here speaking, and then Jamie beside him not speaking, and Jamie's in the video, the entire time. But it's just one of the many, many things you have to think about and learn over time, that now when you suddenly start recording an interview with someone, make sure you double check the framing of the video, but I was thinking about the audio. I was so focused on the audio that I just didn't even think about the framing of the video, and I just hit record. And the GoPro was over here beside me. I couldn't see the back of the GoPro, so I wasn't actually aware of the video at all. And yeah, so that's why that happened. But I mentioned that to Jamie. I said afterwards, yeah, actually, Jamie, you're in that whole video the whole time. And but he joked, well, I hope I didn't do anything embarrassing, and no, he did not, so that's okay. I suppose I could try to crop in on it, but I'm also switching over to using DaVinci Resolve on my laptop for almost all my video editing. And the reason for that is my main phone editing program, Kinemaster, for whatever reason, has decided to increase their price by a factor of like 500%. So it's going from $30 a year to something like $150 or $160 a year. And that's for a little, smartphone app. And who wants to pay $150 US a year for a little smartphone app that is full of glitches and doesn't work a lot of the time? I don't think so. So I'm trying to get prepared in advance, because this happens in January of next year for me, when my subscription runs out. And for me to renew a subscription to Kinemaster, I'd have to pay $150 or $160 US, and I'm just not going to do that. Because, I mean, if you're going to pay that much money, you might as well buy Premiere Pro or Apple's Final Cut Pro and get one of the big professional packages. I mean, that's what they cost. So I don't know why this smartphone app thinks they're worth $160 a year. But it's not worth it to me. So I'm trying to wean myself off of Kinemaster and move over to something on a laptop and become a laptop editor. And I think that will be the best thing overall, because there are just too many glitches on the smartphone. I love editing video on smartphones, I really do. But there are glitches when you're doing that, to do with the app and Android. Weird things happen on smartphones. They're not designed for that kind of work. And that was a roundabout way of saying that I could have cropped in the video to crop in on just Bill, but I don't know how to do that in DaVinci Resolve. And yesterday when I was editing the video, I had so much to do. I was like, okay, I just don't want to bother. I don't want to do the research right now and figure out how to crop in and how to do this, how to do that. I know how to do it on Kinemaster, like that. I know how to do it on lots of other programs, but I don't know the exact technique in DaVinci Resolve, and I just couldn't be bothered yesterday, so I just left it wide. But the main technical issue with talking to Bill yesterday was the audio. And I've noticed this a lot lately, that with my Rode Wireless Go, maybe it feels like it changed or something. When I'm in a noisy environment, a noisy market, it pulls in so much ambient sound. It's like all the hundreds of people around me, the fans, the air conditioning, the deep fat fryers, all the noise around me is pouring into the microphone, and it's just like this roar of sound in the background, and it overwhelms my voice. And in this case, it's threatening to overwhelm Bill's voice, as he's speaking. So I was thinking yesterday that as much as I like the Rode microphone, the Rode Wireless Go, it may not be the best tool for that environment. So I'm thinking of taking all of my microphones. I have the Rode, I have a lavalier mic like the one I'm using now. I have a lavalier mic with a shorter cord that I can use for vlogging. I have a shotgun mic. Yeah, those basic types. And I was thinking of going back to ICC Pudu at a noisy time, maybe going back there this morning, bring all my microphones, get some more Boya or something, and then just do a test. Just record each microphone very quickly in that environment and see, like, maybe I should switch over to a shotgun mic or a lavalier mic instead of the Rode when I go into a noisy environment like that. I'm just curious which type of microphone handles that environment better. Because I want the ambient noise. I want people, and I want to hear the sound around me, but I don't want it to be a roaring sound that overwhelms the voice of the person speaking. I want the voice of the person speaking to be the focus, and I want the background noise to be in the background. And maybe a lavalier microphone is better for that. So I was thinking of, next time I'm near a place like that, I'm going to make sure I have my microphones with me, and I'm going to do a quick test. Maybe I'll throw that test up on behind the scenes on this channel, and you can hear the results for yourself. Yeah, and that was very interesting. Enjoyed the Boya, enjoyed some other snacks we had, chatting with Jamie and Bill, and I had my GoPro running the whole time, and I shot a video about that. And then while I was chatting with Bill, he mentioned to me he found a YouTube channel from a Malaysian cyclist who uses, get this, a 360 camera. And he guessed correctly that I'd be very interested in that. And he says, yeah, I'll send you a link to that guy's channel. And true to his word, Bill did send me the link, and that's the YouTube channel I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I wanted to talk about a little bit. I just wanted to highlight it because it's very, very interesting. And I think his YouTube channel is named after himself. So I think this is the man's first name. The channel is called Zahariz, Z-A-H-A-R-I-Z, pronouncing Z as an American. So that's the name of his channel. I'll put it up on the screen. And he also has a website, zahariz.com, Facebook page. He has a WordPress link, Instagram link. And I'll read his about page on YouTube. He describes himself better than I could. He writes, "I'm a Malaysian adventurer, photographer, and filmmaker. I travel around the world slowly, mostly using a bicycle and living the nomadic way of life. I try to share my experience and thoughts through film, photographs, and writings, sharing the other side of the coin of the world, things that the media don't really share, that the world now is still a safe place to travel, and it is extremely beautiful out there." So he's a cyclist, you know, actual bike touring with a full set of pannier bags. And I guess recently he started filming with a 360 camera. So last night I dove into his YouTube channel. I didn't do like a deep dive into him and his life. I don't know everything about him, but he's definitely a filmmaker. So even before he got the 360 camera, he's very into like true cinematography. He's very concerned about getting the highest image quality possible, and his videos appear to be very well crafted. Not so much a down and dirty vlog as a cinematic documentary with, you know, beautiful slow motion scenery shots shot with a cinema camera or a full frame camera, drone shots, you know, and he edits everything to get the highest image quality he can, you know, beautiful video with music and transitions. I just started watching a series he shot, so far it's a 6-part series of him cycling along the east coast of Malaysia. So I thought that was quite interesting. And he narrates. So he narrates his story and takes video from all of his cinema cameras, mixing it together along with 360 video now and beautiful music, and you know, really crafts his videos. And best of all for me, he has English subtitles because he's speaking in Malay, I assume, and I can't understand what he's saying. So a lot of these Malaysian YouTubers, I can't really watch them because I don't know what they're saying. But he took the time to add hard-coded English subtitles along the bottom in nice white lettering that's very easy to read. So he put a lot of work into these videos, and I'm enjoying them very much. So I'm looking forward to, you know, doing a deeper dive into his world and finding out more about him. I don't know where he lives in Malaysia. I don't know where he's from, and I don't know what kind of trips he's gone on previous to, you know, his travels around Malaysia. And that is it for this morning. I'm not sure what my plans are for today. It kind of depends on the weather, as I said at the very beginning. Oh, this is one thing I totally forgot. It was one of the reasons I was thinking about this YouTuber with his 360 camera and his bike touring, because he gave me a very interesting idea. Because one thing with the 360 camera, you mount it on, you know, I've only done it with my scooter so far, and you put a firm mounting mechanism on the grip of the scooter, and then it has a tripod threaded mount, and you take the Insta360 selfie stick, this thing, and it has a threaded mount on the bottom, and you screw that in, and then you extend it out as far as it goes, and your camera goes on the top. And it works, but I keep worrying about all the torque being applied here. I mean, there's a lot of pull, and then you put the camera on the end. It's a very lightweight camera, but once you add a Rode wireless scope microphone or something like that, it gets heavier and heavier, and it starts pulling. And if you got a tiny little screw down here at the bottom, that's a lot of force for that one little screw to deal with. And I keep worrying it's just gonna like snap right off. It's gonna rip this right out of the base of the pole. But what he did, because he has a touring bike with a handlebar bag, he was able to mount this on his bike's handlebars and then angle the pole so that it rests on top of the handlebar bag. So in fact, most of the weight is being taken by the handlebar bag, and this is just, you know, just holding the base in place, but all the weight is being held there because it's resting on top of the handlebar bag. And I thought, aha, aha, because I have a handlebar bag here. So this is my handlebar bag. Oddly enough, I love Arkel, the Canadian company. My pannier bags are from Arkel, and Ortlieb is, you know, probably the biggest pannier bag maker in the world. I talked about those in another video where they make all waterproof equipment, but the Arkel handlebar bag is too much even for me because it has all the Arkel features, all the pockets and the compartments and the fancy technology that Arkel uses, but it ends up being a very heavy bag, and it was too much even for me. So I went with an Ortlieb handlebar bag. It's a much simpler design, not as nice as the Arkel, but it's, you know, 100% waterproof and very simple sort of design. So this is my handlebar bag. So what I hope to do today, if the weather is nice, is put this on my bike as I normally would, you know, on the handlebars, and then maybe I can do the same thing he did, you know, just rest the pole on top of the bag. See whether the height works out. I'm not sure where I can put my 360 camera on my bike. I haven't tried that out yet. So that's going to be my my task for today, to see whether that technique will work for me. I think it will. I'll be able to work something out, I think. My problem is my handlebars are kind of a Frankenstein's nightmare of stuff. It's not a very nice setup. And this guy, the professional, he has the butterfly handlebar bags, or not, you know, the butterfly handlebars, which are really nicely put together for touring with lots of places to mount things. And so he's much more organized than I am. My handlebars are kind of a mix of bits and pieces that I've accumulated over the years and stuck on to try and give different hand positions, and mounting things on that is a little bit more of a challenge, but that's what I'm going to try to do today, as well as editing some videos and uploading some videos and things like that. So that's it for this morning. Time to shut down. I've been babbling on for quite a while. And with that, yeah, as always, I hope you're out there having a great day, and I hope to have a great one over here. And I'll see you in the next video.